What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Agatha All Along. I was going to say WandaVision. Agatha All Along. It's currently on Disney Plus. It has an audio description, and yeah, the first two episodes are out. There was a review embargo. I didn't get the pre-screening. I saw people were breaking the review embargo, so I'm intrigued to see what happens to them. Probably nothing because they have too many followers for Disney to actually stop giving them content. I think that's what they're banking on. Is they're like, well, I dare you, you know. Um, but yeah. So I watched it after the fact. I didn't even stay up for it. I was like, I'm not doing this live thing. Put it on do a normal drop like everybody else. Don't do this 9 p.m. thing. Uh, Whatever. It's dumb. But yeah, I watched it. It was good. It was really good. I liked it. It's from the same showrunner as WandaVision, so it has the same vibe. Um, First episode we kick off, and I loved like audio description. We even got like the opening credits, and it's like the characters from WandaVision instead of like the actors who play them. So because it's this like Mayor of Easttown knockoff that Kathryn Hahn's Agatha is trapped in, which sort of explains what happened to Scarlet Witch, and then it's also where Aubrey Plaza shows up, and she's like, I guess if this is what you need to process. And we don't really know who Aubrey Plaza is until eventually the spell is broken, and then she's out of this Mayor of Easttown knockoff, which I honestly, if the whole show had just been Agatha doing sort of essentially what WandaVision was, where she jumped through the decades, but if she had to jump through genre television, I think that would be really interesting. Like if in the second episode she's in the middle of like a medical drama, it's like Grey's Anatomy, but you know what I'm saying? Like I think that'd be really funny um, to have that same sort of vibe, at least for a little while until Kathryn Hahn breaks out of it. I feel like I would have, if that's what they wanted to do, I would have gladly extended from Disney's perspective and been like, yeah, you can do 10 episodes. If you want like the first 3 or 4 to just be her bouncing from, I feel like that's similar to what WandaVision was doing, but instead of decades, you're doing like tropes, like genre tropes. So, um, she gets to face off a little bit with Aubrey. She also runs around naked, which my quibble with the audio description on this is we were just told naked. Now, I've asked around with people who've seen Agatha, and apparently it's from the back. So you get but yeah, my mind wandered because I was given no context. I was like, I guess her just tits flapping, just running around. Just on a Disney Plus show, Disney Plus Marvel show. She's just out there, just letting it all. Parents are just shutting the TVs off real quick. They're like, I thought this was for my kids. I thought this was going to be like Hocus Pocus. And writing to Disney and being like, my kids saw boobs on Disney Plus. This is unacceptable. Um, but which is so weird because like and it had audio description too, but I watched the 2 episodes back to back, and in between the first and second episode, I had some sort of like Halloween thing that was, it had like, what level of scary do you want? A little bit more, a little bit more. And like by the time I got like to the intense level, the images that were being described were like heads being crushed. And I was like, that feels like a lot for a promo between 2 episodes of Agatha All Along. Uh, I don't know if this is necessarily what we should be doing. Uh, in this context, I probably wouldn't have put that ad there. Uh, you know, just because you probably still have some youngins that are watching it who their parents are like, oh yeah, Marvel's cute. Yeah, it's fun. You can watch that. But wouldn't let them watch the thing where the head gets crushed. Just a thought. Just a little, just a little programming thought. Um, but Aubrey Plaza lets Agatha regain her powers. In this whole thing, Agatha finds out that she, in the Mayor of Acetown knockoff. She was talking to this teenager that had broken into her house within the context of that show. And really, he's just like tied up and she kidnapped him. And I love the stuff that we do with him, which is great. And yeah, it is. It's like it looks like a symbol, like his mouth is being stitched shut or something like that. And we get that, like a little symbol covers his mouth when she can't hear anything. Anytime he tries to talk about himself, she can't hear any of it. I'll talk about that in a second. So, yeah, it's second episode, she has to go get her coven full of people, and she does. And she does it really quickly. She just kind of like notes the rules. She talks about, well, I have to walk the Witch's Road. Well, there's always a coven within 3 miles. I mean, like just things, and we just move really quickly. Avengers assemble, so she goes and gets everybody. It's just brilliant casting, because if you cast the right people, they're immediately interesting in their scenes, no matter what. We don't need a lot of extra context. You don't need to develop the characters, because everybody who was brought in just was engaging from the moment that they were on screen. So, including like Sashiro Zamata from Saturday Night Live. So, yeah, bring them all in. And then she has to go run and get Deborah Jo Rupp, who's one of the neighbors, to fill out the coven. And they sing a song, open up the door to the Witch's Road, and they're off on a journey. So we'll see what that's like in the 3rd episode. And she's taking Teen along with him. That's the name, because we can't hear what his name is, so we call him Teen. So that's a really fast recap of the show. Oh, and the bad coven that Aubrey Plaza says, I'm going to let them know they're looking for you. They show up right as they're trying to open this door. And so there's a little bit of that, oh my God, are they going to open the door in time? I was like, of course they're going to open the door in time. It's the 2nd episode. It's just like, anyway, so we'll see what happens with that other coven. It's Wiccan. Teen is Wiccan. I'm going based off of that. It's an actor from Heartstopper. I think exactly when you're trying to introduce, a prominent LGBT character, when there aren't that many of them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you absolutely cast appropriately, and you're casting somebody from Heartstopper, which is, show that the LGBT community loves. I love it. I don't love it as much. I say I like it. I'll say I like it. And yeah, I've heard a lot of the reasons why it can't be Wiccan, but there are too many reasons why it can. I've listened to people like John Campea, who's like, well, no, it's I've heard people say, it's her kid. She doesn't have a kid. It wasn't real. And then he talks about like how he read the comic books and stuff, and he's like, well, I watched WandaVision the first time and I thought Agatha was too obvious, and like he's trying to like entertain the idea without saying, like, it was just playing all sides of it. It's like, dude, just say who it is. I will say who it is, and if you're a fan and you're watching my channel, I love you, but I think you're wrong if you think it's anybody but Wiccan. I don't think it's Mephisto. I think Mephisto would just show up as Mephisto. I think it's more likely that we would see Mephisto, because the answer is going to be, well, who's been raising Wiccan? Because White Vision definitely fucking left, and Scarlet Witch is dead. So, if they're teens, who's been raising them? But he ignores a phone call from his brother, and he's like, he worries too much. Speed, right? That's a great indicator of speed. Also being present. The thing about it is that their origins in terms of the comic book series are literally that Scarlet Witch wills them into existence. She just wills them. She doesn't have them in the series either. It's not like, see, the thing is that they're they become young Avengers, and they're a huge part of like the newer part of Marvel, and especially Wiccan, who has gained his own following, being like an openly gay character in the Marvel comic universe. uh, and he dates Hulkling, right? That's his boyfriend. Anyway, yeah, I know quite a bit about Wiccan. So I do think it's Billy. I think it's Hulkling. I mean Wiccan. I don't think we'll see Hulkling this episode, this series. Um, but yeah, it's too like everything is pointing towards it, and why wouldn't it be? Well, he doesn't really exist. Of course he exists. She willed him into existence. Why do you think she willed him into existence only within the confines of the spell? See, the thing is that within the confines of the spell, she also brought Vision back to life. So why couldn't she have actually willed the kids into existence like she does in the comic books? Why couldn't that have happened? In the comic books, she's so powerful that she, with thought, removes the powers of like 90% of the mutants in X-Men, in the X-Men comic book franchise. So she's incredibly powerful to the point where you don't like she the movie series just really didn't even fully tap just how powerful she actually is / can be. She didn't even reach her full potential, but we started to get there, and by showing the fact that these two characters actually exist and that she did actually will, even though the spell has been broken, they are actually here. And it's possible that they were actually trapped inside and she did actually free them, that her death and her sacrifice or whatever at the end of Doctor Strange, at the events of Doctor Strange 2, actually freed them and put them back in the universe in which those two came from. When she was hearing their voices, that there was some context to that. And so they've been here. There's a talk. She asks, Agatha's like, how long have I been here? And they're like 3 years or whatever. And she's like, and they're like, well, we've been bringing you groceries and stuff like that. And, you know, it's kind of hilarious that they, you know, the way that she's been left. But that would age them up from the last time that we saw them at their highest age in WandaVision. I realize that the versions that she sees are younger, I think, in Doctor Strange, but those weren't hers. That was the whole point, is that she kind of went into like a multiverse, and those versions had their own Scarlet Witch. So that was, when she sort of realized, she's like, what am I doing here? And it just goes to show you that even in like other multiverses, she's still that powerful that she can actually create those kids. So yeah, I think that's exactly what happened, is that she did actually create them, and we're finding that out. And they were released from wherever they were, but they probably still have a spell over them. They have a protection spell or something like that that's protecting them from people like Agatha, who are evil. Or, and this is how I've entertained the Mephisto idea, somebody like Mephisto has raised them and will show up at the end of this and has sent Billy in as sort of like an early decoy to like, who doesn't know he's being used, but he's essentially using to get into this situation. So I think that last part is really unlikely. I think it's probably just like a spell left over from Wanda that's protecting him from Agatha, that's protecting and so that she won't know his true identity, and therefore, like, he doesn't know he's in danger around her, like, because he didn't actually get to grow up with the mom telling her about Agatha, the witch. So she was just like the neighbor, and now he's back in the real world. He's been around for a few years and he's been reading up on it. Obviously, his backstory, he's probably saying, like, well, my mom was a witch, and so I got into witchcraft, and that's how I know this stuff. And that's the stuff he can't hear when she asks him stuff, and he tries to explain who he is. I think he's just explaining why he knows magic, because he cast a spell in like the first episode, and yeah, I think it's Wiccan. So when we start seeing, I think his color of magic is blue. I think like Scarlet Witch was red, and I think his is blue. So if we start seeing blue magic coming out of him, I'm gonna be like, Wiccan, you know? Yeah, so I think it's Wiccan. Let me know what you think in the comments, but don't be constrained to the idea that they weren't real, because they're not real. Scarlet Witch never actually gives childbirth in the comic books to Speed or Wiccan, but yet they exist. So that's something that you need to understand is really important. She never has sex to have physical children, like to go through the childbirth of having 2 kids. She actually wills them into existence. I think it's out of loneliness or grief, something like that. It's been a while, but yeah, there was a subplot. There was a reasoning for it. And I want to say it was like a loneliness or grief. She was reacting to somebody's death, I think, and then she willed them into existence. Anyway, kind of like, wouldn't it be nice, you know, how people are like, I'm sad, wouldn't it be nice if I had a pet? But you're like, I don't want to, I have to go to the store, I'd have to go to the shelter. It's a lot of work to go get one. What if you could just like snap your fingers, puppy, right in front of you? You know, she can do that. So essentially that's what she does. She's like, I wish I had some kids. Bam, I have kids. Oh, cool. That was easy. She is that powerful. And I think she may even come back at some point because she is that powerful. But because I'm sure alternate versions of her in other realities are that powerful. And now that we're doing more and more multiverse stuff, we will see her likely again in another universe. That's it. That's what I got. So I'm going to keep recapping Agatha All Along for you guys. And so I'll see you back next week for episode 3. I don't think we're going to get 2 episodes a week. They're not going to burn it. I'll burn it off. This is not a burn off show. So I'll see you next week for episode 3. Until then, I'll see you guys on the other side. I'm giving Agatha All Along an A, by the way. I just like Marvel content. There isn't really anything I don't like on here. Honestly, my least favorite Marvel show is, for some people, is their favorite, and it's Miss Marvel. And really the only reason I don't like that is because I think it had a terrible villain. It had a villain that was beneath her. I think she's charming in her family. I liked her family, but I hated the whole villain storyline. Like, that whole thing did not work for me at all, at any level. I think she had one of the worst villains of any Marvel TV series that we've had thus far. So just totally unmemorable. No, who was the villain? Tell me right now, without looking. Tell me who the villain is in Miss Marvel. You can't do it. I don't believe you can do it. I don't think anybody can actually do it. So they're totally forgettable in Miss Marvel. But yeah, that's why it's at the bottom of my list. But still, I was giving that series like B and B-. I mean, like, I still enjoyed that series enough. Not like The Acolyte, which by the time The Acolyte was over, I was like, please just cancel the show. This does not need another season. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.